Welcome to Zanaco Unplugged, a podcast series that takes us inside Zambia's biggest banks and helps us with conversations with business leaders, creatives, as well as pioneers. We take you through topics such as business leadership, technology, innovation, and sustainability. My name is Rose CBC, and I am proud to be your host for season 2 of Zanaco Unplugged. What a time to be alive when Zanaco turns 55 this year. It's also the perfect time for us to have these conversations and find out about the journey that Zanaco has taken with its partners and get some ideas in how we can continue to sustain even after 55 years. Joining me in the conversation today, I am privileged to be sitting with Zanaco Chief Operating Officer Vincent Chuunga. Good morning, Vincent.
Good morning, Rose. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is. I can see it's like you're so ready for Zanaco, looking all dapper and ready for this conversation today.
Yeah, excited. Zanaco turns 55 this year. We're celebrating Zanaco's 55-year journeys in the support of the Zambian economy, and it's been a great success so far. So this year we are celebrating our 55 years.
Fantastic. And the ever graceful and pride of our entrepreneurship journey in Zambia, the CEO of Java Foods, Monica. Always lovely to see you.
And you, thank you very much for having me and allowing me to participate in this really great podcast.
Thank you. So this morning, we really want to look at how we can reimagine leadership in an era where there is so much innovation going on. So when I think about some tough decisions, I think starting with you, Vincent, when you're dealing with the dynamic teams as well, there's so many different conflicts that happen with subordinates, with teams, and understanding their approach sometimes can probably allow for some valuable insights on how you come up with decision making. So as a leader, how do you handle difficult conversations with the team members?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Very interesting question and very deep indeed.
Loaded.
So yes, indeed. And see, as leaders, these are things that we get to practice every day. So having conversations with your team is part and parcel of what makes you drive a successful organization. So for you then to create the context of having the so-called difficult conversations, it starts with you creating a safe environment first.
Okay.
So the whole idea around creating a psychologically safe space for you and your team to converse in difficult discussions such that then they become easier is key. So some of the elements you need to then create it, and deliberately so as a leader, is create a space where there's honesty, there's transparency, there's trust. Because once those foundational items are firmly in place, the conversations begin to get easier because there's psychological safety. Now, coupled with that, then you get to get into the context. It's important then as you are having a difficult conversation with a person that you understand the context. What are the circumstances? What is the person going through? What is the impact of what is going on? And explain, break that all down, so that it makes it easier for you now to get into the content of what is the issue at hand. And then what makes that easier then is to break it down into be specific. Don't get into generalities.
Okay.
So be specific around this is the issue we need to tackle, the what and the why. Why is it important? What is at play, etc. Once you break it down like that, then it becomes easier to then get to a point of alignment around, yes, it is a problem. Yes, it needs to be resolved. What should the person then do in terms of next steps to address that issue?
Okay.
But also as a leader, what is your commitment to supporting the implementation? That way, then you create an environment of prosperity where difficult issues are tackled in good time.
Okay.
Again, don't let things bottle up and then, tackle them as and when they come up. It becomes easier to make the conversation easier. The context, as I have said, of psychological safety becomes easier and key.
I love that you are zooming in on dealing with specifics and really looking for that targeted outcome. So when that outcome is so targeted, Monica, I would imagine that you'd have to come up with innovative solutions to issues or problems. And as Vincent has unpacked, we're looking at a context. What is it that brought about this dynamic and how can we deal with it? So from your experience, how do you give an innovative approach to resolving issues that will come in through the team and just allow them to think outside of the box?
Thanks. That's a great question. And I want to be able to give context. So Java Foods is what I like to call a growth company.
Okay.
I think we've been around for 10 years. We've walked the journey with Zanaco, so we're really happy about that. But I think the context about innovation is not just for big companies.
Mm-hmm.
It's even for small companies or growth companies like Java, in the sense that we all know we have to be innovative to survive today.
Mm-hmm.
We have customers or clients with different needs and wants. It's a very competitive environment, and those who innovate win. So your question about being a leader, how do you foster innovation in a diverse team, is really important. Because for me as a leader with a very diverse team, have to be able to, one, very clearly tell the team what our goal is. What are we here for as a business? What are we trying to achieve? And be able to clearly communicate that, but then drive a space where everyone can then think about implementation.
Yeah.
How can we give the customer what they want? How can we innovate? How are we different? How can we give the right product for the right price in the right way, in the right manner, right? And that requires innovative thinking, which is not just about the leader. It's about all of us here who are working here to achieve this result, right? But you have to be able to foster that environment which allows people to think differently, allow them to bring their best self, their best ideas to work, and not be afraid to bring up that idea. There's never a bad idea. And as a leader, you want to be able to encourage that, to foster that good dialogue, that people should not be afraid to share ideas. And if not everything works, that's true, but sometimes it's worth just thinking through different ideas and then rewarding people. Because sometimes I think you think, even if it's the smallest idea, but it became this really great innovation, it's always nice to go back to, the small guys or the mid management says, well done, your idea really helped us get through this problem. So I think the system of reward also helps. So communication, clear goal setting, allowing a space where people can think, can bring their best self, and then reward. I think those are things which definitely help innovation.
So Monica has given us a great landscape, Vincent, which ties in very nicely with your understanding of team dynamics. So what I'm hearing her say, once you've broken it down to recognition and rewards and understanding the context, whether it's big, whether it's small or big business, from the perspective of immediate needs, long-term goals and strategies to object those goals, how would you strike a balance in terms of finding where that goal is actually going to be met through innovative ideas from the teams?
Yeah, look, interesting question. Again, it's a mix of how do you manage short-term versus long-term, and perhaps borrowing partly from some of the words Monica has used in her previous articulation. Zanaco is equally a growth company. For us to have achieved success at becoming the leading bank 55 years down the line, definitely means that there's been a focus on the long term and managing the short term.
Yeah.
As we celebrate 55 years and positioning Zanaco for the next 55 years, we've got to be very clear around what is the vision, what is the direction we are talking, which then speaks into we as leaders must have the ability to envision and be long term in our thinking. So that creates value, it creates sustainability into the long term. So one of the key responsibilities that we have as leaders, and leadership really is at different tiers in the organization. Everybody inevitably is a leader. We must then be able to envision the long term. Look at what's happening in the market, look at what the customer behaviors are, look at the technologies that are at play, and how are these envisioned to evolve over time? And what does that mean for us as an organization? So once we master that long-term view, we are definitely well positioned then to create value in the long term.
Great.
Now, for us to harness and manage that value in the short term, which is now, we are going to break down that long-term vision into shorter-term deliverables, if you allow me to use that term, so that as we execute in the short term, we are well aligned to achieve our vision in the long term.
Good.
So leadership on a day-to-day basis, therefore, is about that interplay between not losing sight of the long term so that you create value and sustain, but manage that value and harness it in the short term so that those building blocks are adding up to your long-term direction. That is how, as Zanaco, we are envisioning ourselves to continue being the leading bank 55 years from now equally.
I'm sure you resonate with that, Monica.
I do.
Exactly what he's talking about.
Although I was going to say, I think Zanaco is more than a growth company. You're a big company.
So they're a big company. They're talking about 55. And we know that Java Foods is also turned 10. So in that journey, even for you, there's been quite a number of challenges that are inevitable, even as you take on the leadership roles that Vincent has well articulated for us. And now when we think about some of these challenges, some of them might be very uncomfortable, I'd imagine, right? But in a leadership role, you've got no choice but to face the failures and the setbacks. So how do you deal with failures and setbacks as a leader, Monica?
And it's really important. I think one of the key things we often say to the team is that, you're a leader. So you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, doing hard things, making hard decisions, and dealing with difficult, challenging situations. And it's a fact. You will always have difficult situations, uncomfortable situations where you have to have frank discussions. And if you want to be a leader, get comfortable with dealing with that, right? So I think my advice, yes, and doing hard things. Leadership is doing hard things, sometimes not being the most popular person in the room, but that's not your job. Your job is to get through, the difficult points and get us to the goal, right? So I think my advice on that really is being able to, one, maturely see the wood from the trees, be able to see we have a problem, first of all. Sometimes you acknowledge it, right? Because sometimes we're very, no, there's no problem, but actually be very clear or see that you're getting into a problem, right? And very quickly get the team together and say, look, I think we're going in the wrong direction or we're about to crash land. We need to really think, how did we get here? Should we dissect the problem? What have we learned from this? What could we have done better? How could we have saved money, changed the product? Or is it a dead horse? Do we kill it now and move on? Because that's one thing we don't do very well. We allow the horse to die long. Sometimes it's better off if it's a dead horse, it's a dead horse. Let's move on. Exactly that. But that's leadership, right? It's like saying, okay, we spent a lot of money and we put a lot of executive time and it didn't work. But the being a leader is saying, yes, it didn't work. Let's get the learnings. Let's and move on from here and move on to the next thing. So that's what I would always say to people. I think really be prepared to go through the postmortem. To understand how did it go wrong? Was it not the right time, not the right product? The message was wrong? And then learn from it. I think that will be the key for any leader, and really lead the team away from this to the next thing, right? And quickly, right? Because I think a lot of people will say, if it takes too long for you to react, it really does also hurt you. Right?
Because then there's so many other factors then that will come into play and throw you off course, right?
Totally.
But the moment you said quickly, I'm quickly thinking of time management, Vincent. I'm like, okay. So when she's talking about leadership and making sure that you are the person that makes the hard decision and makes the calls even when it makes you unpopular. I'd imagine one of the other things is that leadership is by example. And I must commend both of you. I mean, even as we were preparing for this conversation, we had a set time and you were both on time. You were here. We started on time, and I know we're going to end on time. So this brings me to time management, Vincent, because as a leader, I think that's a very critical area when it comes to team management and understanding the new reimagined ways of leadership, especially with flexi hours now. What within the organization do you use as techniques that will improve performance around time management and ensure that you still get time managed effectively and efficiently? Remember, Monica said quickly. We move quickly. How do we move quickly with time management?
Indeed. And you see, the element of time, when you break it down to the level of an individual, is an interesting concept. Because see, one of the things that I always emphasize, articulate to my teams, those that I mentor within the organization, is the reality that all of us have equal amount of time. All of us have got 168 hours in a week. There's nobody that has more or less. What becomes key, therefore, when you get into the conversation around effective management of time is about what do you actually use that 168 hours for? To therefore become effective at whatever it is you want to do, and then bring it down in the context of work. So you begin to realize that first of all, you need to understand and encourage your teams to be effective about how they manage their time outside work.
Okay.
Because that has a significant impact on then how productive they become at managing themselves and managing time within the office.
That's true.
So managing yourselves outside work, for instance, at Zanaco, what we try to do is to promote a very strong agenda around wellness and wellness of the employee. So focusing on things around the employee should continuously self-develop, reading, etc., etc. That increases the individual's capacity to be much more effective at the limited available amount of time.
Okay.
Because when you invest in strength of mind, you therefore become a little bit more effective around how you navigate yourself in various aspects of life. But equally, focusing on time you spend on personal health, for instance, physical exercise, etc., etc. the more your body is conditioned, the more effective you become at what you do outside everything else. So it's about body, mind, your spiritual interventions, etc. So all of that which you do outside work is important, therefore, when you come into the office, which is your 8 to 5. Now that you are a sharpened employee because of what you do with the rest of your time outside work, how then do you manage your time at work? So at work, it becomes an issue around how do you allocate sufficient time for interaction with your boss, your seniors, because that makes you ready to understand what is the assignment. Okay, and then how do you spend time understanding and in conversing with your peers, issues around having meetings, because again, that makes you well positioned to understand how do you collaborate, what support do you need, what support is needed from you. So how much time you spend in meetings to collaborate with peers is key. But again, be deliberate about how much time that should be. Then there's that which now you must now spend time to supervise and coach your team, because also it makes them that much more effective in supporting you.
Okay.
So the whole idea around time boxing, managing your time, being deliberate about what you will do when becomes key in managing that 168 hours. But ultimately, it's about also how do you hold yourself accountable to this is what I committed to do. How do you prioritize? How do you delegate? How do you descope some things that are not important or not urgent? So that whole toolkit is key for you to understand and master the art of managing that limited time that we all have, which is the 168. Hence why you should be quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm loving how we're parked on time. So when you speak about time, apart from the everyday, every month kind of daily time, I heard a bit of banter here. There's Zanaco 55, there's Java Foods 10 years.
Yes.
How did you feel about Java Foods turning 10 years? Where did time go?
It went real fast, actually. And we grew up. We went through many phases of growing and understanding the environment, how to play, how to innovate, find your position in the market. But with every year, we've grown stronger, and we're really proud. I think we're also really proud of even Zanaco, because it's for us, we look at a really prime Zambian company, and we can only look forward, say we want to be like that. So it's really encouraging to see this.
So Zanaco is the big brother, big sister, or
Yes.
the go-to. So what would you say to a 55-year-old Zanaco?
I think keep on innovating and keep on opening the path and the door for the rest of us. We really take pride in the fact that the leading bank, they've been around so long, and we really want to see many more Zambian companies. And I really believe the way Zanaco is positioned that they can help many other Zambian companies on this path.
And back to you, Vincent, owning the 55 years of Zanaco. What would you say to Zanaco turning 55 this year?
Interesting. And I guess the starting point would be to reflect around why was Zanaco created in 1969 by our former president, Kenneth Kaunda, was pretty much to create an engine for enabling economic growth. And that is what banks really are all about. So as Zanaco were created primarily for that, 55 years ago. Reflecting on the 55-year journey to where we are now as a leading bank in Zambia, it is important to recognize the efforts of those that managed the bank before us in creating a bank that has delivered a lot of firsts. First ATM in this market was deployed by Zanaco.
Wow.
First agency banking model, and the largest agency banking model as we speak today, with over 25,000 plus agents out there, was started by Zanaco. So Zanaco has a history of a lot of firsts. So those of us that are leading the bank today stand on the shoulders of those giants that created that environment then. So as we look at the next 55, our responsibility is to look at where will we position Zanaco 55 years from today. And it starts with us understanding how do we continue to enable the economy, which is why we're set up in the first place. So that means we need to understand what our customers need. How do we support them in thriving at what they do? Because as customers thrive, that is what then is reflected in the strong performance that the bank is producing. The success of the bank is a reflection of how effectively we're enabling the Java Foods, the Rose as customers. We are banked across all the segments, corporate, retail, SME, etc. So that is what explains our 55 years to date, and looking forward to this 55 years going forward. How do we really unlock the potential of our clients?
And we are definitely looking forward to more conversations on Zanaco Unplugged. And much as we'd like to go on and get more insights from these two amazing leaders, one internally from Zanaco, our Chief Operating Officer, Vincent Chuunga, and our CEO from Java Foods, Monica Musonda. This has been Zanaco Unplugged, and we were looking at reimagining the ability to lead. Vincent, thank you so much for your time. Monica, thank you so much for your time. And on that note, we'll just like to let you know that another one is coming up. Stay glued and keep following the Zanaco Unplugged podcast series with insightful conversations week in and week out from business leaders, creatives, as well as innovators and pioneers. We're talking business, tech, and sustainability. This has been Rose CBC with another exciting conversation only on Zanaco Unplugged. Until the next time.